5, 4, 3, 2. Hey everybody, welcome one, fat and old, gray and not gray, to Save Me Jebus, episode 7.
Oh, save me, Jebus!
Okay, so welcome everyone. Since our last episode, we got a whole bunch of new subscribers. So if you're checking out Save Me Jebus and you don't know what this is, well, this is a weekly podcast where I review every single episode of The Simpsons until I am calling out for the man himself. Save Me Jebus! So this is episode 7 of, well, what is now a 7-part thing. And we'll continue to push forward. So go back and check out episode 1. I know that it's really rough because, as I said once before, and I'll continue to say over and over and over again, Save Me Jebus is a work in progress. It'll continue to push forward anytime that I see something new that I can add to the show to enhance the experience and enhance the listening experience. I will continue to push. So, this week's episode is kind of a, the way I would describe this episode is just off the walls. Crazy, over the top gag humor that just really kind of resembles stuff that I've seen in other shows, like maybe, Dr. Slump, I guess. I don't know. This one is just the family going into the woods and then just the crazy stuff that would only happen to the Simpsons. As Lisa will actually say in one point in the episode, the Simpsons have landed in the woods or something like that. She says something crazy, and that perfectly defines this episode. This is just wacky zaniness and good stuff from everyone. Maybe not so much Lisa, but Maggie definitely, and even Marge has some goodness in this. But let's just kind of get into it. Cue the music. So the couch gag this episode is, gosh, I wouldn't even know how to describe it. See, on one hand, if I misheard something, then I would give this gag maybe like a 3, maybe a little bit of a 4, because what happened in this gag was just the family just ran to the couch, started watching TV, and then the episode plays. There may or may not have been a pop sound. I don't remember, and I probably didn't hear it right. But if that is the case, if they just decide that they wanted to play it straight face, then that's really funny. It's really good because we go in, we're waiting to see something happen, and then nothing happens. They played it straight, and I like that. I really do. If it was a whoopee cushion type of gag, I mean, it's better than the pop sound or the pop gag that I've been complaining about from last episodes. And let's get on into the episode. So the episode begins with Bart and Homer doing their thing out in the yard. Bart is mowing the lawn and Homer is watering the grass or watering the plants. And Bart is pushing this really crappy mower. And he's really frustrated for doing so, especially after Rod, the Rod Flanders of Ned Flanders, is seen riding, one of those ride mowers. And he's wondering, why do they have such a crappy mower, Homer tells Bart, hey, don't be paying attention to what the Flanderses have. Be happy for what you have. And the Flanderses thing is an actual quote from the episode. So I didn't butcher that. Homer did. But yeah. But after that, Ned pulls up in a brand new RV with state-of-the-art stuff and everything. And Bart is extremely impressed. It even has a satellite dish. And Homer wonders how Flanders can afford this, because according to Homer, he says something like, I get your mail over at my house sometimes, and I've seen that you only make $27 more than I do. So how can you afford this? And Ned says, I can't afford it. It's all on credit, which is super funny. It's super gratifying because, hey, Flanders looks like he has it all together, but the truth is, it's all on credit. So Flanders, not the bit of a baller that he comes across as being, and that's too good. I really love that. Going forward, I'm going to keep that in my head every time I see him doing better off, because credit cards. So anyways, because of this, Homer and the family, they go to see RVs as well. And he says, and Homer goes in with the mindset that if Flanders can have a really nice RV, then so can I. So can I. So we get this really slimy salesman, and he's a real slime ball. I don't know how to describe him any other way. I know that that's the trait, but for like a little bit, he kind of changes his tone in the way he's approaching Homer. And just when I think that, I was like, okay, well, you know what? Now that he sees that he can't take Homer for a sucker, you see a little bit of a change in attitude from the salesman. Because what happens was that after showing Homer the best RV on the lot, which is something like a mammoth or something. It's something ridiculously crazy, and it's super big. It looks like a building. He takes Homer to go run the credit, and the siren goes off. And the salesman, he stops that salesman's sliminess and tells him, like, hey, look, I'm going to be real with you. You can't afford this. Hell, if I sell you this, I'm going to go out of business because there's no way you can pay for this. There's nothing that I can do for you. And he changes his attitude. But then Homer goes, I really don't want to leave empty-handed. So then he's like, okay, all right then. If you want me to sell you something, I'll sell you something. And he shows him this really, really, really beat up RV. And Homer wonders, hey, is it used? And then he goes back to being the slimy salesman and says, hey, you know what? That guy over there doesn't even show anybody. That guy over there, he wants this RV. Before you came in, he was telling me that he wants this RV. So I could give it to him or I could give it to you. Well, like, what do you want to do? And then Homer says, let me go talk to my family. And he says, hey, man, you look like this respectable guy. Are you really going to tell me that you're the type of person that needs to talk to his family to make decisions? Are you not a man of your household? Do you not run your own boat? And then Homer, of course, he is duped. He gets the crappy RV. And this is the best thing ever. No, I'm wrong because there's better things in this episode. But right now, in this moment, this is the best thing ever. Because Homer takes the RV. And then, what does he do? Oh, man. The entire family is in the RV, all packed up, ready to go camping. And Homer pulls up next to Ned. And he goes, hey, Flanders, look what I got. Pulling up in that dump of an RV. And Flanders, being the good guy that he is, he says, hey, that's great, Homer. You know, you're going to have a lot of fun camping. Oh man, like I said, that was the best thing over. Episode over. Bye. See you guys next week. No, but seriously. So the family goes camping. Now Bart doesn't want to go camping because now he's in a really crappy RV. Homer is causing traffic because, well, the RV is just so slow and so old. Eventually, he actually goes off the road. And Marge is telling him, like, hey, I don't know if this is such a good idea. And he says, it's okay. We're going back to nature. This is an all-terrain vehicle. And the music playing during this sequence feels, I would describe it as very American, very patriotic. It sounds like something that you would see in a Boy Scouts type of scene or something. So if you end up watching the episode, kind of pay attention to the music here because it's a little bit fascinating. So the Simpsons are riding their RV through the all-terrain, and eventually Homer hits a cliff. And what happens? Well, he loses that really crappy RV. It plummets down the cliff and explodes. And the only thing that I'm thinking is, dang, Homer, you know, you're paying $3.50 a month for it, and you lost it on the first day. And all of their belongings are gone with it. So it's just the Simpsons with the skin on their backs. And Lisa says, the Simpsons have entered the forest. Now Homer, he's trying to keep a positive face. He says, well, now we get to be pioneers. People would trade everything in the world to be in the situation that we are in now. And Bart says, I mean, you mean the way that we just did? Homer claims that he's an experienced woodsman and he tries to calm the family down. He takes a walk away, says that he's going to rev up the engine or something, kind of get him, do the little warm up before he starts to save the family. And he walks off in the distance and he says, "What am I gonna do? I murdered us all." And it echoes and the family hears it. Marge moans, that classic Marge. So after that, we see Homer build a really crappy tent for them, and he says that he's going to go off, and he takes Bart with him. Lisa gives Homer some advice as he starts to walk away. She says, "Remember, Dad, the handle of the Big Dipper points to the North Star." And Homer goes, "That's nice, Lisa, but we're not in astronomy class right now. We're in the woods." But now both Marge and Lisa moan. They do the So here's the thing. As Homer and Bart start to walk off, Maggie starts to follow them. And Lisa kind of comments on it, saying, "Hey, should we really let Maggie go with them?" "Nah, she's in good hand. Your father's an experienced woodsman after all." Oh, Marge. What happened to that moan? But as they're walking, Homer and Bart never actually acknowledge that Maggie is following them. So as soon as Maggie does the pacifier pop thing, it freaks them out. And Bart and Homer were just having a conversation about it, saying that, "Hey, is it okay? Are there dangerous animals in the woods?" And Homer says, "Now, son, remember, animals can smell fear, and they don't like it. So don't be afraid." So when Maggie's pop from the pacifier goes off, Bart's kind of like, I'm not afraid. And Homer goes, "Run, you fool!" And they take off. Oh, man. And they fall off the cliff and into a body of water. Now Maggie is alone and a bear finds her. And this is my favorite thing about the entire episode. Once Maggie finds the bear, oh gosh, the bear tries to eat Maggie. Just as the bear with its opening jaw approaches the little baby, Maggie pulls out a pacifier and just sticks it in the bear's mouth. And now both of them are... And the bear, he likes it. He's like, "You know what? This baby's alright. I'm going to take it with me." But now we come back to Homer and Bart, who now find themselves in the body of water, and Homer can't find Bart, and he starts crying. He's sad because he thought that his son is dead, and turns out that Bart's alive. He's just naked. So Homer points it out. I was like, "Hey, you feel a little fresh down there?" And Homer and Bart says, "Well, you're naked too, Dad." And so they go off. They try to hunt food. Homer sets up a trap. And Bart says, "I was like, how are we gonna find food? Are we gonna hang ourselves?" But it's this little trap that he kind of clings to the floor, and when a rabbit comes, it ends up catapulting the rabbit into the distance, kind of like a cannonball. So they try again, and Homer goes into some bushes, and he gets attacked by wildlife. Now we cut back to Maggie and the bear, and the bear takes Maggie to its den with the other family of bears. And just as the other bears are about to eat Maggie up, the first bear stops them and kind of, I don't know, somehow talks to them and says, "No, Maggie, we don't eat her." Instead, the bears start to steal stuff from other campers to provide for Maggie. It's such a wholesome viewing experience to see these bears just go and steal from other campers just to give Maggie the stuff that she needs. They start off with a bottle, then they get her some toys. Eventually they get her like a lamp. So good. Especially because these campers have no idea that the bears are just sneaking in behind them. Now we cut back to Marge and Lisa, who thinks that Maggie is still with Bart and Homer. And because Marge and Lisa were able to build a fire for just the two of them, they think that Homer and Bart and Maggie are just okay. Because hey, if they can build a fire without any experience, now imagine the stuff that Homer, an experienced woodsman, can do. Homer and Bart, though, are seen freezing and shivering. Then we see Maggie, who is seen sleeping with the bears, and she literally gets a bear hug while she's sleeping. It's so good. The women Simpsons are so capable. It's such a shame that they're attached to Bart and Homer. Okay, so the next day, Homer spots some honey and sticks his hands into the hive of bees, and of course he gets bitten by the bees and he can't talk. Homer, in pain, goes and runs into a puddle of mud, and there's a guy with a camera that starts to record him. And this is where we enter the second act of the episode. because we see this guy with a camera recording Homer. Now, he turns that into the local news, and everybody thinks that Homer is Bigfoot. And then we see the news reports of Homer being an ape man. The newscaster reports it as an uncivilized look, foul language, and indescribable stench. An indescribable stench. Lisa and Marge are found by a ranger, and they tell Marge, you're lucky that we found you because there's something horrible lurking in the woods. And they show Marge the ape man or Bigfoot, and Marge states that that's not Bigfoot, that's my husband. And so then the story spins that Marge is married to Bigfoot. And so then they start to interview her, and she says, his name's not Bigfoot, his name is Homer. So then they spin it again. Now, Bigfoot has a name. And then so they ask her, what are his favorite foods? And she says, well, pork chops are his favorite. Oh, man. And so Maggie and the bear show up while the interview is in progress, and somebody says, get those bears out of here, we're trying to do an interview. Now Maggie, who could have potentially been reunited with her mother, is cast aside. But Homer and Bart find Maggie's bears with the smell of food, and just as the bears are about to attack Homer and Bart, Maggie comes in and stops the bears because Maggie's a G. As they're walking away, Bart goes, later grizzly dudes. But yeah, Maggie gives a heartfelt goodbye to the bears, and they're off to find Marge and Lisa. And just as they get to the area where they are, Homer gets captured, and the rangers tell Bart and Maggie, you're lucky that we got here in time to rescue you. Bart goes, what the hell are you talking about? And Homer escapes from the capture net, and he is tranquilized, and as he's going down, he tells Bart to avenge his death. So then they go and test Homer and see if he's actually the Bigfoot that everybody's thinking that he is. Dr. Monroe from the therapy episode comes out with some other scientists, and they say that Homer may or may not be human, and then the scientists can't come to a conclusion. But the only thing that they do agree on is that this, whether he's human or not, he is of low intelligence. And then we cut to Homer and Marge laying on their bed, and Homer is just sad because the guys at work are going to have a field day when they see this incident. Marge gives Homer this wholesome smile and says that he is her brilliant beast. She kisses him goodnight, shuts off the lights, and the episode ends. Like I said, everything in this episode was just so fun. It was really funny. It was really good. Everything about it just fell in line and just made so much sense as, well, this is what would happen if the Simpsons were to go into the woods. This is what happens when they try to go camping. It falls apart. It goes crazy. It's chaotic. Because why? Well, these are the Simpsons. These are your low middle class American family who are extremely dysfunctional. But hey, don't worry. They're worse than you are. And that's what makes them so much fun to watch. Because, well, hey, even though they're worse than us, they still have heart and we still care about them. Maggie teaming up with the bears was so wholesome and so fantastic. I really, really loved watching that scene with her and the bears. Everything about it. Just because it's so unrealistic, it just kind of comes across as something that you would see in a Disney film or something. And this is exactly what I was talking about with the staff taking these characters and just going off the wall with it. It's just pure, unadulterated fun. And I also think that it's important to note that Homer actually caring about what Flanders has as opposed to him, and even though he told Bart not to worry about it and be happy with what he got, it kind of shows that Homer, despite being the way he is, he still very much cares about what the people around him have. But at least he wants his son to not grow up thinking that way. And that's pretty good. Alright, so in next week's episode, we have Telltale Head. Bart pulls a stunt that shocks the entire town, including the new friends he was trying to impress. And that's the description that we have, but if you think about it, it's has something to do with the head coming off or something. I'll see you guys next week. Bye, cha.